Hello guys, and welcome to yet another session of the Gosu Academy. What I've decided to go through today is AWP peaks, and the reason for that is because when I was a professional player, I was mainly AWP, I was mainly playing AWP for my team, and so I have a ton of experience playing this role. It's a role I'm very comfortable in, and also on top of this, I know an awful lot about AWP peaks, which is what I'll be sharing with you today. This is going to be interesting if you are an AWP player yourself, but even if you're not an AWP player yourself, there is also the possibility of you sharing this with your teammate or just watching it and learning more about AWPing in general. Maybe AWPing is a role that you would like to fit into at a later stage. And on top of this, what's interesting and what I will try to do different than most other YouTube videos that you see online is not only will I go through the AWP peaks, but I will go through the counters to the AWP peaks, so you know how to play against an AWP who is doing something specific, or if you are in an area where you're afraid of an AWP, what is the best thing you can do. Now let me just check real quick the volume levels of my microphone, because I have had some issues. Make sure that we got everything good. Yes. All right. I think it looks good. My levels on my OBS look a little low, but I hope it will be possible for you to hear me. Even do. I don't know why it keeps saying mic muted as well. I turned it up a little bit now. Hang on. I'm sorry, that I have to do this, but I want to make sure you guys can hear me clearly. So, okay, this should be good. All right. So, basically for AWPing, I have a document prepared, and these are some different peaks that you can do as CT and T on Mirage. So, we'll start as CT, and I will talk about not only the peak itself, but I will also talk about basically anything that is a sort of bonus. So, the first one is the classic A Palace peak. Now, this is something you typically want to go for if you have a front spawn, so like a good spawn towards a CT AWP. And it can be a good place to go in case you are like... if you know that the Ts are mostly playing with a single A player, or if you think that they're going to be doing a sort of like pop, so not necessarily an execute, which is typically of a more slow fashion, but more so a pop, so something more explosive. This is a type of round where the A apps player will be moving forward in apps early in the round, and this is where you can catch them off. Or if there's only one A player, you can be in here. So let me show you. This is basically the movement that you will need to do. It is a little bit tricky. It's worth practicing as well. But you want to be running over here. And most of the time, as you're running over here, you want to be doing a Molotov slope. This is a key piece of utility that basically every pro CT team does every single round. It's to stop a rush in slope. Obviously, they can just smoke the Molotov, but it's still something that you do because it is helpful in slowing down a rush. And if you don't do this, eventually the C side will rush A if they're good. So, as you're running over here, you can Molotov, you can run, and try to be on the second step. Then you jump while crouching from the second step. You land up on this box. And as you do this, you jump up on this, and then you jump up over here, and you go and take the angle. The reason why you do this is because it's a lot faster than going up here. And if you do it fast, you can get it to look pretty smooth. It looks very stylish and also is very fast. The quicker you can do this, the more likely you are that the T-side player doesn't hear you jump up on the balcony. Because if you allow this player close, they can hear you jump up and they will be prepared for this kind of a peak. So, as CT AWPer, get good at doing this movement. And then, just another small tip, some AWPers like to hold the angle like this. I don't think it makes a super big difference, but I think still, I've always liked doing it like this. I think it's because, as a T-sided player, they do sometimes peek like this, but if the T-side player peeks from here, for example, they can see your leg and you can't see the T. And the same if they go here and stuff like this. Because the T-sided player will be further from the corner of contact, which is this one, then you will be able to see more of your body than you see of them. So going out on a little bit of an off angle means if they peek from down here, you will have, you know, a bit of a more surprising angle. And if they do try to go from the pillar, like here, you'll still be able to see them. So as a T-side, how do you counter this? There isn't that much you can do to counter this peek. One of the things is just simply don't peek. Another thing you can do is obviously you can try to like jiggle peek, or you can try to actually work with your angles and see if you can find an angle where you can see the leg of the AWPer without him seeing you. But it comes with some risk as well. If you feel super afraid of this, it will always be possible to do like a bounce flash like this and swing with an AK. But this is a peak where, you know, if you expect the AWP to sit there, one of the best things you can do is just wait. The AWP will eventually leave, and if the AWP is full crazy, he might even push. If you're sitting here and the AWP is pushing, you will get the kill. And if you sit here long enough, the AWP will typically fall back. Also, an added advantage of sort of staying patient here as a T is as the AWP is leaving, they will typically leave with sound, like dropping down here. Very few AWPers will walk out here, walk down the ladder, and walk away. And so, if you're forward in apps, you will be able to tell when the AWP leaves. So that's like a super common peak. Probably a lot of people have seen it before. I have noted down, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 CT peaks and 5 T peaks. So there's a lot to come. I'll try to speed up a little bit, but if you're looking at this thinking, okay, this looks like super basic Counter-Strike, that's what we're starting off with. But we will be definitely adding some peaks that even if you're at a pro level of AWPing, you might not have seen. So the second one is what I call Fallen Peak. It starts the exact same way. We want a good spawn towards A again. We want to do this. And as the Molotov is up, I want to come close. I want to zoom a little bit early, and I want to peek behind the Molotov. You can use this to, well, typically when you do Fallen Peak, the right play in my book is that you ask a teammate with you. So either you can come here and you can peek this, and if no one's there, you can clear right side yourself. But you can also hold this and let your teammate, who is a rifle, clear this for you. Even if your teammate dies, you know, you just step out a little bit and you should be able to comfortably trade. This is a good way to get an opening peak on A again, and it is a case, again, just like the Palace peak, where if you kill the A player is a lot of the time alone, and if the A player is alone, you know, you can disregard almost the entire this side of the map, basically. So, this one can be very good. Okay, I have another peak for you guys, which is also pretty, it's kind of standard, but I do have some spice for you. So, again, if we're peeking from con, we can do this, and normally we would probably flash over mid for ourselves to make it look like a default round. We can come down here, we can decide to peek down, where we only see when they're running out to the boxes, or we can peek from up, where we can see more of mid, but it also is, in a way, a little more open, I guess. Now, again, talking a little bit higher level CS, basically every pro team will at the start of the round have someone flashing over mid. And so, if you're peeking con, what is normal in a pro team is that the AWP runs and flashes for themselves. And then they have someone doing a delayed flash, and the delayed flash is timed, so when the AWP, so when I as the AWPer will peek, I get a flash that pops above, and yeah. The first flash is basically just to make sure that the T side, first, they don't scale too quickly, because if they come out here, they're not blind, maybe they start running towards con early. If they do get blind, maybe they stay a little bit more back, or maybe they wait with taking mid a little bit more. And the second flash is to facilitate the peak, basically. But here comes the spice. This is a smoke I've invented myself. We'll see if I can do it first try. The idea is basically, as you're getting to this line, you want to be looking directly up while running, and you want to underhand your smoke. So you can use either the radar, or you can also use just feeling. But if you come here and you do this, this smoke lands, so you can peek in front of it. but it turns off any Molotov from the T's, both up and down. And if I'm peeking here, I can take a shot, I can run around, I can jump up, and I can peek kind of in a one-way above the smoke. So it is something you definitely will want to practice, but it is a really cool play that basically no other AWP player in the world is doing, because I've invented it and I don't know, no one's really done it, besides me. But it is super good in a way where you can, you know, take the first kill, go back, jump up, and peek from above, and maybe get a second. So this is a really sort of simple peek, but it is with a bit of spice that you can try out. And you know, the added value of having the smoke here already, so it turns off any Molotov in connector, is much better. So I would consider doing that. There's also the option of you know, jumping out window, jumping down here. This used to be very popular before people started Molotov in connector start of round. This is basically the same, but just faster. It comes with some risk though, because if the T-side is swinging mid, then when you jump out you might get spotted. What some AWP players have done in the past is they will have a smoke in their hand, they will bounce a smoke like this and jump out, and this smoke goes in, and at least in CSGO it kind of gave the same effect. Like a smoke that would turn off the Molotov that you can still play around. I mean, you can still play around it here now as well, but you will be more exposed. So this is just to give you guys another idea. You can do the smoke, jump out, and the smoke will turn off the Molotov, and you have something to play around with. Okay, there is also the ladder room peek. Actually, talking about, yeah, just revisiting how to counter certain peaks. Countering the fallen peak, there isn't that much good you can do. I think one of the best things you can do, because I didn't touch on this, is while the Molotov is burning, it can be really tricky to see the CT-sided AWP. So I like to wait until after the Molo, and then after the Molo, I either peek extra wide, or I peek with super, how can I say, super, yeah, like a crouch peek, like a dunk peek basically, or some tire peek. Also, actually, something I forgot to mention. If you're holding the fallen line, like this line, hold the close angle, because if the T peeks from close, you will have your crosshair here already, and if the T peeks from the back, you will be seeing their shadow before they show themselves. So always, if you're holding this line, hold down at the shadow, and you will always be able to react. For the connector peek, as a T, one of the best way to counter this is, you know, if you do a Molotov and the CT doesn't do a smoke, this is like an easy counter. If the CT does do a smoke, one of the counters is the kind of Monacy boost, where you boost here, and you hold con from a sort of different angle. You will kill the AWP here before he even gets to peek, and it's a really cool off angle. An alternative as well that some people pull out sometimes is, you know, double or triple nading con. So when the AWP is coming to peek this, if he gets double or triple naded here, he might just straight up die. Other than this, if you want to flash the AWP up, there is like a flash you can throw like this, and it also works for down. I'm not even sure. Let me try to throw it as an HE. I think to flash the AWP up, it needs to be pretty specific. Like, I'm not sure if this one would work. Maybe we'll want to throw it slower. I think that seems better. But yeah, if you want to flash the AWP who is down, bouncing any flash like this is good enough. So that's also a sort of counter. Okay, the ladder room peek. If you know for a fact the T-side never swings early mid, you can jump up into the window and jump over here and jump in. And you can go here and you can either hold this angle or you can start searching out, whichever you prefer. But otherwise, in a pro game, what will happen majority of the time is like the T-side will be smoking window from the start. And what some teams will do is have a rifle cross window, boost up the AWP, have them go into ladder room and come down here and play here early. This angle can be good, because if the T-side wants to, again, scale mid early, you can kill them here. And if you feel like it as well, you can, you know, search out and take a little bit more of an aggressive angle. If you hold something like this, it can be really good. And also, there's always the opportunity of throwing a Molotov off this white wall that will burn all of the boxes and kind of force the T's out from this area. How do you counter the ladder room peak? One of the best ways, I think, is if you as T take map control quickly and you are expecting this peak, if you go down this way, you can peek the ladder room peak in a headshot angle. And it is pretty tough for the AWP to hit this shot since he's holding like this and you will be peeking right here. So that is one counter to it. I guess another counter is simply ignoring it and just walking on it. But yeah, this is not really a peak that has a really good counter other than this. This headshot angle peak is very strong though, and you know, if you play against someone who does the ladder room peak a lot, you can try, you know, having a smoke window from spawn, potentially having the con smoke that smokes up all of con, and then going down in this lane, and even crouching and uncrouching, for example, could be the play. So that's worth trying. Next CT peak is also one that requires a little bit of movement, but it's one of the coolest in the game in my opinion. It is the short jump. So it looks like that, and then you can come play this angle. This is really good because when T's are coming out mid, if they don't insta-swing mid, they will be expecting someone con or here, but they will not properly clear this angle. And it is a pretty difficult angle to flash well, because when T's go out mid, they will typically, you know, bounce a flash behind the box, or maybe some will even just do a flash up here, and some will do a flash down here, like we talked about already. As an AWPer, you know, flashes that go behind the box, I'll try to throw one there. It will blind you, but not for long. And because you are at a bit of an off angle, it's typically possible to even wait to get unblind from this flash. If they flash up here in the sky and you see it, I mean, it's possible for you to dodge it. Some people like to play like close up on this corner so that they can step behind the wall and re-peek. It's up to you. And any flash down mid won't blind you. So this is a super good play to do. What this takes is definitely having this flash that I talked about earlier. That as you are going out mid and jumping over mid, you need a flash from A, so that if the T's decide to swing early mid, they are gonna get blind a bit. And also, a lot of teams do it that when the AWP short jumps, the short player, since short is kind of being held by the AWP, will start with rifle in window and try to kill anyone swinging out. So, with the help of the flash, holds an angle or tries to fight a little bit. And if they, you know, want to swing out wide, the AWP can kill together with the rifle. And worst case, you know, the rifle will slow down the T's enough that the AWP can get into position, and then they can stay alive, and then the AWP, you know, has position. One thing to note about this peak is that if you stand up, you are visible to people coming underground. So if your teammate is not holding underground for you, I would always recommend you to crouch, because it means they have to kind of go on top of the bench to see you. But either way, I would say this is not that great of a place to be if no one is holding you underground. So that is a pretty important thing. So what is the counter to the short jump? Well, one of the best counters is what's called the VP flash. You go up here, you aim here, and as you hit this, you want to slow walk and jump for. Let me actually check if this VP flash is good even. I might be throwing the wrong lineup. I think actually it's on the left. This one. That seems much better. Let me see. Yes, this is the flash. I must have been failing this for a long time. I'm happy I checked it now. So this flash blinds the rifle player in window, but also will blind the AWPer jumping short. And is a very standard flash in Pro Counter-Strike. Every team that takes mid will basically use this flash because it's pretty free to throw. And if you have a window smoke from spawn combined with the VP flash, you can swing and you can catch the AWP here before he gets into position. That's one counter. Another counter to this would be, you know, even something like doing the VP flash late, because as you will see, this is one of the flashes that will absolutely own this position. Okay, actually, maybe I didn't even throw it far enough. Okay, now it's better. So if you play all the way up on the corner, actually the VP flash doesn't do all that much. I guess it gets blocked by this, potentially. But if you play more on the back, it will destroy you. And so the VP flash, even for taking mid-late, is very good. Some teams will also run boost out. And that will make it very difficult to hit the shot and also to get away. And I guess other counters are just, you know, playing from underground before you play top mid. And if no one is holding underground, it makes life difficult for this teaser robber. I have actually tried it as well, because it's such a good off angle as AWP. If the T side expects this AWP, some people, instead of wide swinging, will peek where they fully commit to peeking here. And as the AWPer, because you know you have an off angle, you are kind of holding for the run out, not for the peak. So if the T's peek this very tight, it actually will win the duel, I want to say. That's another kind of counter, but it is a little bit risky. But at least I can tell you, when I've been AWPing, this is something that would destroy me. Okay, so yeah, one of the peaks here, I think, is not really that much. I guess it's not that meta anymore. It was very good in CSGO, where these notes are from, but it used to be very meta to throw a smoke that landed here and to kind of play around it. It is less so now, because in CSGO, if you're standing here in the smoke, you would basically be invisible. But even in CS2, this is a smoke where you can, you know, take a shot and go and play inside the smoke and come back out with flashes and stuff like that. The smoke also makes it so, you know, anyone who tries to Molotov won't be able to. This will probably fail actually. But even if, like, let's say you Molotov here on the left, the smoke will make it so you can't be Molotoved. And also, if any of the T-sided players come from this side and they want to spam you, you know, there is a smoke here, and it can be difficult. So, yeah, just this is a move you can try if you like. What is kind of necessary if you want to do a peak like this is that you explain to your teammates you will probably need help to get out of mid. So if you go here and you use your smoke, whatever, let's say you get a kill, let's say you maybe even get a second kill, whatever, you will likely always need help to fall back away from mid, especially if you miss your first shot. So this is something you should communicate to your team ahead of time. I also have something I call, so this basically in my notes I call it simple peak, and this is something I call Dexter peak. It is basically where you play in the cubby here in underground. You can decide if you want to hold like left side of this or if you want to hold like this. But either way, it is actually a very tricky AWP angle to play against, because ST, if you peek this, you don't expect an AWP to be playing here. And also, as an AWP, even if you miss your shot, you can tuck back in, and you are almost unkillable in this corner. If you have a teammate ready to help, you can always throw, I know some people have a lineup for it, but basically an underhand flash like this will mean that the T-side player, if they are trying to run after you and kill you, they will get blind, and this will allow you to get, you know, a second shot in. This is a peak as well. You could potentially do in combination with this smoke. So this smoke might give people the idea that you are playing here around the smoke, like up here on the ledge. But in fact you are here in the cubby. And the way we've seen this being used by teams in the past is, when the T see this smoke, they want to spam it on the right side to try to kill the person on the ledge. And then you can, you know, with AWP stand here, or you can even step out and kill when the T is spamming. So this is also a very cool peak you can try. Then I have something I call Cadan peak. This is one of my favorite peaks to do, actually. I haven't done it for a long time, but it's very effective in my opinion. And actually, before we talk about that, let's talk about how do you counter the simple peak and the Dexter peak. So the simple peak, which is the one where you play on the smoke around the ledge, I think one of the best things you can do is actually, if you notice that an AWP is playing here or that this smoke is there, one of the best things you can do is Molotov connector. The worst thing to have happen to you when you're playing here with AWP around your smoke is having the feeling that you are boxed in mid and that you can't leave. Because if the T side is aware that you are here, it is not that difficult to kill you. Like, if they bounce flashes like that and bounce flashes like this and they swing while connector is Molotov and they have someone coming from B to fight it as well, you will likely die. So, one of the best things, in my opinion, is, Molotov in connector. There's also the possibility of, nading, and it will blow up the smoke as well. And you could peek with your nade, or you can even have your B-house player maybe peeking with this nade. With the Dexter peek, there isn't a whole lot of counterplay, honestly. One of the things you can obviously do is, as you're coming here, you can throw a flash underhand like that. And then peek with it. It's kind of not meta anymore. I guess you can do it like that as well. You maybe have a better timing to peek with the flash. But yeah, this is not something that really is... You don't really counter this position until you know someone is playing here. So that is also, again, why this AWP peak is very strong. Because if no one knows you're here, you have a pretty good chance at a kill. But it is also something where if you miss, you are likely dead. So it's high risk, high reward. Okay, Cadan peak is, again, one of my favorite peaks because what you basically do is you run out to window, you jump down into underground, and you keep going forward, and you peek like this. And the whole point of this is that when T-side plays Mirage, the most regular default is the 1-3-1. So you have like one A player, which we touched on briefly earlier. You have 3 people taking mid control, and you have 1 person playing towards B. And most of the time, the B player will be playing information in some regard instead of playing aggressive. So what a lot of players will do is they will be playing like this kind of headshot angle, jiggling, so that if they get pushed from underground, then they have the chance to fall back and kind of concede the area or take a different angle where they feel they have an advantage. And the Cadan peak is kind of designed to exactly punish that. You run all the way with AWP and you peek exactly the headshot angle where this player is. And what's so great about this is, one, it's extremely unexpected. Not many top AWP players have this in their locker, or maybe they have it in their locker, but they don't bring it out very often. And this is interesting because when you get this kill, and it will happen if you try it enough times, I actually think it has more than a 50% success rate for me, so I consider that very good. If you kill this player, like 9 rounds out of 10, B-house is now fully clear, and it is possible for you to go and potentially grab a really aggressive angle in B-house, or even just smoke the area and leave. And when you have this kind of control, the T-side basically has to start the round being a man down, but also they will need to wait with taking B control, or maybe kind of disregard B for the entire round. So this Cadan peak is very cool. Like, it looks cool, it's effective, and if you get the entry frag here, you set your team up for a really, really high win percentage round. So I really urge people to try this if you like playing AWP. This again is a peak where if you go and you miss this shot, then it is a problem and you are stuck. And they know you're here, and getting out of mid, especially against a coordinated professional team, is very difficult. But what the Cadan peak has as its advantage is that you can go here and you can miss, and you can fall back a little bit. And if you have your B player, and maybe even the B and the short player pushing B house at the same time, they can help you get out by pushing and killing a lone B player, and then allowing your AWP to go and kind of escape through the B apps. So this is worth trying out, in my opinion. And yeah, again, Cadan Peak, one of my favorites, absolutely. So this one is also not as meta anymore, because probably nades can now blow up smokes, but it works very well in case no one needs to smoke. So what it basically is, I call it Espiranto peak. And what it basically is instead of doing a con smoke, this was very meta, I guess, in some extent, like to some extent it still is. But basically, you do a con smoke that makes it so you can hold over short and no one can really come take con. The Espiranto peak is using this smoke to peek underground. So instead of focusing on blocking mid control, I will walk through it with AWP kind of early round before the underground player can be here. And then I will be peeking the underground player and trying to kill, and then going back con before I get traded. So talking about counters to the Cadan peak and the Espiranto peak. The counter to Cadan peak is, you know, jiggling this area. And if you see an AWP here, I think one of the best things you can probably do for yourself is falling back and maybe even just bouncing a Molotov like this. This will allow you to go down into underground. Maybe you can even, you know, throw a nade here or something like this. But pushing down into this space makes it so if the other CT players are pushing into B-apps to help their AWP, you are kind of hidden from them, and you have a sort of one-on-one against the AWP player. This also just puts a ton of pressure on the AWP who is down here, who now gets Molotov and can't really peek, and is probably staying like close in a way, and then gets naded, and then, you know, whatever, you can maybe even jump across the angle or something, make it hard for the AWP there. So that's the counter, I would say, to the Cadan peak. Another counter as well can be to just, you know, get the information, and as I said, play a little bit more passive. You can have your mid players Molotov underground off. Somehow this Molotov is really difficult for me right now, because it needs to be kind of precise, but you can always throw it on this side, which I apparently also can do, so that the AWP gets trapped in underground, and then you know you will have more freedom in mid, basically. So for the Espiranto peak, I touched on it kind of briefly, but if you see this smoke and you are afraid that an AWP is going to be peeking underground, or even a rifle, you know, you can nade the smoke to check, and you can also go on this side of the boxes. This is very effective if you have window smoke. You can go this side of the boxes. Imagine I have a rifle. You can spam this lane with an AK, and this will make it so if the AWP is actually coming out here and peeking, you know, even if the AWP gets the kill here, he won't make it back into con alive. So I would say that's the best counter to the Espiranto peak. The next peak I have is kind of also out of meta, because this was also kind of using a one-way smoke, but I do think it has some purpose in CS2 as well. So basically I call it Sau peak, and what it is you jump out mid, and then as you come out here you do kind of an underhand smoke like this for yourself, and then you play like up on the bench here, where you can, you know, kill here, and if you land the smoke in a proper way. I haven't tested it in CS2 all that much, but, you know, imagine I go out and I throw it a little more to the right. It will give me more of like a smoke cover. And, you know, this is a strong angle. And if you land it correctly, like, you have smoke to play around in. Let me see if I can, I will let the smoke fade real quick. I'll see if I can find like a proper spot. You'll probably want it a little bit more in front. This is a little bit tricky because you need to have the smoke land quite fast. Let's say you do something like this. I mean, this will allow you to hold this angle, but you can even kind of crouch and play around the smoke, and like, it's just kind of nasty because for the T's when they come out, like, this smoke probably makes you quite difficult to see, and you are difficult to molly, and you are difficult to trade, because even if you kill someone here, you know, you can escape down this way, and you can also escape down this way. You could even, whatever, sit here, potentially. This is probably not a good spot since they can nade the smoke, but potentially you could, you know, get this kill and kind of turn it into a sort of Espiranto peak or Dexter peak where you go and hold this. And yeah, that's kind of interesting. So then I have something I call Sau and Shon Peak. And what that basically is if you stand still here as CT, a little before the shadow, because the bomb site is slightly elevated, you can actually, with a proper jump, crouch jump and land on top of your teammate, and then you can jump immediately up onto the B balcony. And by doing this, you can immediately contact B, which is a very early timing that yeah, most T-sided players will not expect. And you don't even need to contact forward, like potentially you could just get here and hold. But it's basically just a peak where you use the help of a teammate. In CS2 it is kind of possible with a little bit of movement to do this yourself. It's a little bit slower. I think even I didn't do it fast enough. It can, with some movement, I haven't done this all too much, but you can do it quite fast by yourself now. This was also possible in CSGO, but in CSGO it was like you had to hit basically this specific pixel, and in CS2 you can you know, move here much more. And this is actually also another thing. I mean, this is a peak in itself as well, where you're basically playing a headshot angle with an AWP. This is also worth trying out. But yeah, this is what I call Sau and Shon Peak. Talking about counters to these last two peaks is the Sau peak. I mean, if you bounce this flash that we talked about, which is actually for con, it will take whoever's playing on the bench. The same if you do the good VP flash. This is also something that will absolutely destroy someone playing on top of this bench. And so the kind of common mid takes can be decent counters to this. If you swing out mid with multiple people and you die to an AWP playing here, I would go behind the boxes, nade the middle of the smoke, and probably try to peek. Or nade the smoke, Mulu behind it, and then peek. So that the AWP is either trapped in underground or trapped out mid, kind of, and can't go hide in underground after. So that's probably the counter I would do. For the Sau and Shon peak, one of the best things you can do, I guess, is you can, as T-side AWP, you can go do this peak. We will get into that later, like why I'm doing it this specific way. But if you go peek this, you do get there sort of the same timing as the other AWP, and you can win this duel. Another counter to this peak is, as long as you can get in here on the left side. This is something not a lot of people know, by the way, so this is a pretty cool trick. But if you want to flash the AWP away, if he's sitting on this side, you want the flash to land somewhere here. And what you can do is you can flash out the window on this wooden pole. This flash will, for this AWPer, look pretty cool. And if you want the flash to be slightly longer, because some AWPers like to take this angle instead, then you want the flash more to be towards here. Then you can do basically the same thing, but just with a running step. Maybe a little bit more power. But I believe this flash will now pretty much take this guy. So if you know that there's an AWP on this balcony, or if you're afraid that there's an AWP on this balcony, you know, this can be a solid flash to try out, because the fact it goes out of the map makes it feel very unexpected. Even though the AWP actually sees the flash at the beginning, the fact that it goes out the map and comes back in is interesting, and not many people are doing this, so yes. Okay, I have a peak as well that I call Stair Starter, and what it basically is I go through window like normal, but instead of starting window, I will start stairs. And what I will do a lot of the time is just Molotov Palace, and then I will come here and peek this with AWP. This can be really good if you know the opponents have low money, because a lot of teams will be headed towards A when they do have low money. And so the Molotov blocks them from peeking you on apps, and it also blocks any fast plays. And then also peeking here against the Deagle or an AK is almost a free kill every time. And what I find is when I do the Stair starter and they come A, is if you do this Molotov and you peek here, if they want to do like an A execute or an A pop start of round, you will be seeing the smokes fly on over and someone will jump down here that you can kill. And just like basically any other execute, if you take out the first guy, like the basically entry fragger early, it makes the hit so much more difficult for the T's because the guy who is supposed to create the space is gone. And now it will be easier to block for your A player because he has the information very early that they're coming A. So Stair starter, in my opinion, super good to do when the opponents have low money. Then this last CT thing is kind of less of a peak and more so a setup. I call it Sprout because I had it in Sprout, but more recently I've called it the Switch. And it is basically if you go and gain mid control and you have the feeling that the T's are going to come back to mid, what is really cool you can do is you can have the AWP sitting up here and holding this. And as soon as the AWP takes a shot... Oh, wait, actually... So, you have the AWP sitting up there holding top mid. And you will have a rifle standing here in middle and holding the walkout underground, which is a massive off angle. And the reason it's called the Switch is because when the AWP sees someone and shoots, the idea is you switch. So, as the AWP, my role will look like this. I shoot, I switch, and I go here. I don't have to necessarily jump up. I could also make the movement more clean. Shoot and jump up like this. But I could also just, you know, shoot and go down and hold it from here. Whatever you prefer. But basically, as soon as I shoot, that is the go sign for my rifle to also switch and now hold this. So for the T side, it will look like you go out and maybe the first guy dies. And then you want to overswing the angle before the AWP kind of reloads the AWP or whatever. And as you're like wide swinging, now you're getting killed from down mid. Or if you survive and the AWP misses whatever, you still swing out, but you are focused on con, and then you get killed from down mid. And what happens a lot of the time, if it's a pro team, the underground guy, when the AWP shoots, will be kind of close and will be trying to take his timing. And that's why, you know, having the AWP here holding this is super strong, because the AWP just shot top mid, and the last thing the underground guy is expecting is to now be peeking the AWP, basically. So it's a really cool setup that you can try out with your teammates, and I promise you it works. It's super, super good. Okay, an awful lot of talking, but also I think a lot of good things said. So how do you counter the two last peaks? One of them was kind of more of a setup, but how do you counter this? Well, the Stair starter, one of the best things you can do is, you know, first of all, don't go slope until the A-house Molotov is gone, because the A-house Molotov is what lets the AWP stand here in the open and take good angles. And second of all, if you are afraid that it's Stair starter but you still want to go, just do like one deep flash like this. The AWP, if he zoomed, won't see it, and hopefully if I didn't do a bad flash here, he will be fully blinded, and that will be enough for him to give up the angle and fall back. So that's like what I would do as a counter to the Stair starter. Countering the Switch, yeah, that is honestly pretty difficult. I think, yeah, I mean, if you want to do a delayed mid-take, this flash is key to have. I guess in this case, this flash not only takes the AWP, but it will actually also, depending on where the rifle is playing, maybe the rifle is playing more here, he won't get taken by the flash, but yeah, there isn't that much you can do as a super solid counter. Obviously, if you know about your opponents having this setup, or if you are afraid of this setup, maybe you just know if the AWP shoots here, that you need to go out and focus down mid instead of focusing con. But this is like pretty deep, and it requires also sort of some kind of level of anti-strat, I would say. So, moving over to the T side, I have only 5 peaks for this. I probably have... Well, I actually do have 6. So basically, what it is actually maybe 7. But anyway, so one of them is super simple. I call it just jungle peak. What it is you run with AWP, and in this type of round, I think you want, instead of doing window smoke, you would prefer to have just a top mid smoke. In CS2, I guess you could do window smoke as well. The whole idea is we want to keep the AWP having focus on mid for the start of the round. So this can be accomplished in a few ways. You know, if it's a good AWPer, if you smoke top mid, it's very likely that the AWP will go here, maybe Molotov boxes, and nade the smoke, and then hold here. Bang. Okay, this nade was a little bit missed, but this would be what I would be doing if I saw this kind of combination of nades. If the window smoke comes, I will be doing this HE. Or you can also go, how is it again? Go here, I think. And jump up like this. So you get kind of a... This is actually also a really cool trick. I'll just show you for the sake of showing you. If the window smoke lands here, which it does, and you go here on the black line and aim directly up and you nade and you jump here, this kind of gives you only a gap in the one side of the smoke. And for the T side, this is actually really difficult to see. For the CTs, it looks like there's way more of the smoke that gets removed. For the Ts, it's pretty difficult to see where you are. So that's a cool trick. But anyway, point is, if we, do a top mid smoke as the only thing, the AWP will probably use his utility set to get some kind of information if he's good. Same if you smoke window, he'll probably use his nade. And there is also one last option, which is, failing the window smoke on purpose will probably make the AWP stay because it looks like you're going mid. And this is part of the plan. Then as T-side AWP, what you do is you come running over here. And when you get to like here, you zoom. And you walk and zoom as fast as you can. And then you go over here and you crouch and you hold jungle. And this is because what a lot of AWP players will do is they will start in window and helping with mid. And when that job is done, they will come and they will peek like this. Or they will run out jungle to go closer to A side. And so this is kind of a counter to the AWP rotating late, basically. How do you counter this? As CT AWP, there is a extremely good counter that I think most people don't know about. And that is, if you are not window as AWP, if let's say you started connector, which is very good for AWPers, and this is something I basically do every time. If you watch my streams, you will see this. If I start connector with AWP, I will always, when I'm going back, look like this. And the reason I do this is because what we talked about with the CT A house peak earlier is whoever is closest to the point of contact will show more of their body. It's just how angles work in real life in CS. So if I'm holding like this, my whole arm is showing for the connector player. And so because shooting in the arm is a one-shot kill, I can peek the AWPer who is holding jungle without the AWPer who's holding jungle seeing me at all, and I can shoot his arm and he will instantly die. This is something I do every time at CT if I'm starting con, because if he's there, it's a free kill, and if he's not there, it costs me 1 second. So really big counters to this. There is the Modesty peak. I touched on it earlier as well. You can boost here and be partly behind the wall. If someone jumps down mid and wants to go con, you will kill them. If someone peeks con, you will kill them. It's a very strong peak. There is even a top mid smoke now that is very popular, where you go here and you aim here. And it bounces in a way where the T side can run and peek left side of it, but also it allows for this boost to still have some kind of effect. I guess you can even boost a little closer, which can allow you to peek a window and peek con if you want. So yeah, try it out without the smoke. I think this boost is probably better without the smoke, but you can change it up as well. And yeah, I recommend trying that. There is also a fallen peak as T-side. Actually, just how do you counter this as a CT AWP? Well, one of the best ways you can counter this is, we talked about it already. If I'm peeking con, you know I will be doing this and doing that. And then before I peek mid, I will be getting a flash over middle. And if I use this to peek, if he's standing here and is blind, I will see him. And sometimes when you peek this, you will see like an arm disappearing, and you can like pre-aim this because you know he's boosted and you will kill him. So that's why this flash is really key. Yeah, that's one counter. It's probably the best counter. There isn't a whole lot of other counters that make sense. So another T-side peek is the fallen peek, where you basically get run boosted. So imagine I'm standing on top of someone. And for anyone who doesn't know what a run boost is, it's something that's really difficult to show solo because you need another player. But if you run on top of someone else's head, you will be like flung really far, and you will land on top of the boxes. And what you can do if you're, really good is you will jump up on your teammate, and then typically what people will do is they will jump and they will run basically when you land. So the jump is for the timing. And what you can do is you can flash up in the sky, jump, and then get run boosted, and you will peek short and window and con all at the same time, because you will be, as I said, you'll basically be having a flash in the back, you will be flung out here, you will land really fast, and you can like, on the way out, you will see if the AWP is out short, you will kill him. If he's window, maybe you have a chance. If he's con, you have a chance, right? So this is a really cool peek. It's mostly like a mid-round peak. Like if you've lost mid-control and you want to regain it, flashing up here, run boosting out, super effective. Very cool as well. Gives you style points for sure. I have one more peak I want to talk about. This is also kind of a peak I would say I've invented. I think this is also something most top AWPers don't know about. And yeah, some might say it's useless or not that important, but basically what you do is you have the top mid smoke. I guess you would still throw it in this way. Now that I think about it, actually, maybe in this specific round you would not want to throw this kind of top mid smoke. I'm just thinking. I mean, it doesn't really matter all that much, but basically just you want top mid smoke from spawn. And what I like to do for myself is, as you have this top mid smoke, I just like to do this for myself. Throw a flash like that. Come out here. And before I peek, I will get a flash. I can never remember the lineup for this, but I think it's something like that. From my teammate. And with this flash, I can peek window, both sides, because it lands here. And if someone is down mid, I can kill them. And if someone is down mid, let's say I miss my shot, my teammate can be ready with flash number 2. So after my shot, like I can basically imagine I'm peeking, like I kill, boom, and then I wait, and then bang, and then I peek again and bang. What is really interesting with this as well is that if the CT AWP comes and peeks con and takes this angle, I'm not sure actually, is that possible with this top mid smoke? Let me check it. Can you even see anything? I'm not sure you can. No, so there is no reason to be here if you do this top mid smoke. But if you do a more standard top mid smoke, which some teams still do, because this one also has disadvantages. Basically, some AWPers will go here and sit. And if they do, it's again because of the point of contact. You, as AWP, when you peek here, you can actually see this guy and you can headshot him and kill him without him seeing you. So yeah, a kind of neat play. I think it was better in CSGO, but I wanted you guys to see it anyway. I call it Dignitas. Then I have one more peek, and it's a kind of weird one, but it is actually quite powerful. So basically, you just start with AWP in B house. I call it Sau peek as well. And you just walk underground with AWP late. So you can go and sit and hold this, and you can give mid for free. And when the CTs have mid for free, typically what they want to do, if they are connector or whatever, and they have full control, and the AWP is here and they have full control, what some people will do is either the AWP will jump down and peek underground, or the rifle will come in and check this. And if he does, with AWP here, you can kill for free. But otherwise, if they don't peek, you can delay it. you know, do a window smoke, or your team can do a window smoke, and you can actually, with this window smoke, you can contact this angle, which is a lot of the time a rifle. And if he's not here, you can just keep contacting, and it's super nice actually, because the AWP will never play here basically. If the AWP is playing Top Gun, he will play there, like this side, or he will play here, or maybe play fire or whatever. But it is a way to peek connector in headshot angles, and you know, some AWPers will do this, I guess, that they run over here and they peek this or whatever, and maybe they'll jump on con and peek from this side. But it's only really if you walk underground that you will peek from this side, and I think it's a super cool play that I think it has a lot of promise. You can walk up here and you can, you know, peek default. You can even sit and hold an angle on default, and again, if you wait out the time in the round, the default guy or firebox will peek you eventually, and you will have a chance at a kill. So it's like a super cool way of taking map control with an AWP, and a very cool peek. Okay, a lot of information I know, but I have one more peek here. So if you do the window smoke, let's hope I didn't fail it. I didn't. If you do window smoke from spawn and you get the VP flash, I sometimes like to do Shon peek on T side, where I go and do this, and then I just instantly peek this, and then I keep just searching. And the strength of this is that if the AWP or rifle is coming connector, they typically are doing this smoke first, and they are not expecting an AWP to come and peek them here. Also, if the AWP is starting ROPS here, basically, he will rarely be ready for an AWP to peek him. I've had so many good rounds with this, and it's a really good way to win advanced map control in mid as well. So this one is really good. There's also the chance to boost on slope. I prefer to do it on the shadow. So basically you come over here, you get boosted, and you're kind of crouched. Your angle looks something like this, a little bit higher maybe. But basically you can see the CT crossing to connector, and you can kill him. And the last one, it's a small thing basically, but if you want to peek B, it's something that I've learned many years ago. Instead of peeking B like this, it's almost always better to jump and land on top of the couch here and peek like this, because it gives you some elevation. So if the CT is jump spotting like this, you being on top of the couch allows you to see him for longer. And it also is a little bit more of an off angle. If the CT is boosted here, they have to peek, like they have to adjust to you being on top of the couch basically. And what I also sometimes do is, as I'm going over here, I will throw a flash and then jump up and peek here. The reason for this is just, I think sometimes if you time it right, the flash can mask the sound of your zoom as AWP. And yeah, if the B player is here, whatever, throwing nades, he might not hear the AWP because of the flash. Like, you might not hear your zoom, so... Yes, that was a ton of AWPs, guys. A lot to say. I think I will real quick go through, okay, what is the counter for Fallen? Like the Fallen peak, which is like the run boost. Honestly, there isn't much of a counter. The switch can be actually a pretty effective counter, because this guy will see the run boost and will try to kill. And if he misses, whatever, then this guy can turn and a lot of the time kill this AWP. So the switch can be a decent counter. Counter to the Sau peak, like where you walk underground, would be, you know, having your AWP standing like this. So kind of like the switch, except you start in the switch already. The counter to the slope boost is basically the reason why CTs, instead of molotoving, I mean, you can also molotov like this, but it's harder to get the big flame. So basically the way molotovs work is the big flame is always in the middle, like where the molotov lands. And that's why when you run like this, for the big flame to be on the corner here is quite difficult. And that's why a lot of the pros, they choose to throw the molotov like that. That way the big flame is here, and it's harder to see anyone crossing. So that is the counter to the slope boost. And the counter to the B house peak from T is, I mean, I talked about it already kind of, but if you get instantly boosted with AWP here, or if you as AWP would come and peak like this, I mean, this is a pretty damn good counter. So yeah, I think that was kind of all the AWP peaks I know and like on CT and T Mirage, and also their counters. So, as I mentioned before, you know, if you are an aspiring young AWP player, I hope that this video has been helpful. If you are someone playing in a team with an aspiring young AWP player, or even just an AWP player in general, send them this link. I'm sure they will learn something, and even if they think most of them are garbage, I'm sure there's at least one peak that they haven't seen or thought about before, and that they can try adding to their repertoire of peaks. For the last kind of person, like the last segment of people that I think this video tries to aim towards, is the people who hate playing against AWPs and want to know how to counter them. I hope you felt like you got some answers to your questions as well. Yeah, that's about all I had for this session. It's pretty much perfectly an hour as well, so yeah, I guess next thing is just to first of all say, if you like this session, and if you want more sessions like this one, there is a link in the description where you can get basically a free month of Gosu Academy subscription. The way it works is you put in your card details, you pay for the month, but if you don't like it at any point in the month, you can get your money refunded fully, 100%, and you know, it's basically 100% risk-free. I recommend doing it. I do Thursdays, and there are many other talented coaches here that will help you on days where I'm not present. So it's not just one coaching lesson a week, it's multiple. And on that note, the people who are here in the academy, who are sitting here and watching, before starting the session, I asked them if this was something they would want to hear about, and they said that they thought this would be interesting, but they also have the added benefit of being able to ask questions. So, people in the academy, do you have any questions about any of what I've said, or anything unrelated that you would like the answer to?
Not really, for me as well, at least.
Yeah.
No.
Anyone else?
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
You always do.
Yeah.
That's good.
What is a good flash to peek shot with you can throw for a teammate or for yourself as a pop?
Like
to push it.
when you are running out short or CT, you mean?
No, ST.
So like peeking short how? Like peeking short towards B or what do you mean?
Yes. Shot. You're walking up cat and peeking like into short here. Like,
yeah.
not
Like
like
from
so
catwalk
deep.
to short. So
Yeah,
if
if they're
there is,
standing
this,
like
you mean?
in
there's
the
one guy sitting on the
Yes.
corner of it, you can like flash him.
Yeah, I mean like this area.
Yeah, over here. I think, you know, any flash like this is good enough actually. Like, make sure it bounces far enough, because if there's an AWP here, the way it will look for him is it will bounce hard enough that it will go in front, and so he has the choice between eating the flash and taking a blind shot, or, you know, giving up the angle and going back to it. So it will allow you to either bait out the AWP shot, or it will allow you to peek, right? And also, if there's someone sitting here, it will be kind of the same thing. Like, this flash is like annoying to play against, and it's super simple flash to play. And then I think if you want a flash into underground, I think if you aim in the middle of the lamp and you just hold W and run, this is a really cool pop flash for inside that room. That is very difficult to dodge and extremely easy to throw. Just go up against the bench, middle of the lamp, run forward, and back. I think even the way that this one flashed, I think I let go of W a little bit faster. It's very difficult to dodge. So you could, you know, if you have a con smoke from spawn, what I talked about earlier, that fills up all of con, you know, you could bounce this flash hard and have someone, when you run across, throw the flash like off this wall and go in and use the clear ladder room and win the control. Was that an answer to your question?
Yeah. Yeah.
You hesitate? You think?
Yeah. What do you think would be good? If I want to flash in a teammate, maybe just upper flashing in the upper left.
Yeah, it depends on where you want to flash from, because I mean, even if you're down here, you can just do this flash with like some running steps. If you're all the way at the back here, you know, I've never had a situation where I've wanted to throw this flash, so I don't have a lineup for it, but I think even if you just go somewhere here and you aim here and run and jump throw, this will be an extremely effective flash. This will be undodgeable.
Yeah.
Okay, the second one was, but yeah, maybe you do it like slow walk, might be better. I think this one will flash both. But yeah, this was like just a feeling lineup, you know. Yeah, this will be good. So basically just, I think also this is a good spot to flash from because you're hidden from window and con, right? So just stand somewhere here, aim here, walk a few steps forward and jump through. That's probably the best flash you can do for your teammate. Yeah?
Yeah.
Do you like
Thank
that?
you.
Or can I do something, can I find a better flash for you somehow?
You have something for ladder? No, that's not from under. Or
Yeah, it's not a set
put there.
lineup, but just like I think if you just stand here in the middle and you aim like here, crouch.
So you would just throw one in from the bottom, like the mid ramp.
Yeah, I think anything like this should be good. Like you could probably find a set lineup if you want. Like maybe something like, I mean, I would ideally want it to be a position where you don't get killed, right? Like, but I think even something like this, you know, I think it's not always good to have a flash lineup for everything. This is something where, you know, if I flash it and it bounces off the wall a little bit,
yeah.
like, let me see, like this, it will still be probably good enough to get the job done. Like, so it's like, if I would be doing this in a match, I would just say I can flash for you, and then I would just go somewhere here, and on feeling, I would take like a step back and flash like that, for example.
Yeah.
That's probably what I would do. Or yeah, anywhere here around this wall is gold. I would say.
But yeah.
Any other questions? It can be from you as well.
Yeah, we talked about also if the op was in ladder room.
Yeah. So
What
like
was it again that you said? Yeah.
Yeah, so what I said was...
It was like from going down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you can peek it like this, or you can even just, you know, peek like that. But you can also go under the angle. And here it's also like, you know, if you are here and he can't see any flash like that, will destroy him. Or at least make him lose his angle. So... just try to always get creative on like how can I, like, basically with flashes you should think of it like this. If he's sitting like this, it means there's a lot of open space over on his left side. So if you're standing down here, you want to flash away the orb, how do I find a flash that lands in that open space? Because if I want to flash him like on this lane, which is very tiny, it's almost impossible for me to throw a flash that isn't very obvious. But because I know if he's holding like this, there's a ton of open space over here. Like, basically any flash, I can even bounce it super hard like that. And it will take him, I'm pretty sure. So, that's always how you should think about it. It's just, you know, the same with if you want to flash this guy and this guy. This guy, he has a lot of open space on the left, and this guy has a lot of open space on the right, but also the flash, if it lands right in front of him, like, any flash like that, is gonna blind them both, or they have to give up the angle. So that's how you want to visualize it. And if you become really good at the game, like some flashes, it's very important that they land kind of pixel perfect, but a lot of flashes you can do on the fly as well, because you just have this innate ability to understand what angles are open where the flash can land, and how do I get the flash to land there. If that makes sense.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Any other questions, guys?
Nah.
Okay. Then I think I will just say thank you so much for today, guys. And yeah, I hope to see you for another session next week.
Thank you, Nathan.
Yeah, thank you, guys.